Hey there, this is your girl Candace Duff coming at you all the way live from sunny South Florida. Today, I have my cooking video for week one of the challenge. And as some of you know, it's been a relatively short week, so I don't have a ton of food in here, but I have some. It's been a pretty uneventful beginning to the challenge. You know, in the beginning, you have a lot of your fresh vegetables left and things of that nature in your coolers and stuff. So, there's lots of food and there's no shortages. I think the major part for me has been deciding like what to cook, what to make, and whether I should meal prep. Since it's only me, I only tend to make a few meals per week because I can eat them on repeat. And this week was no different. I did, however, make an exciting chocolate protein granola. So hopefully you'll enjoy that. And I also did high protein pizza meal prep. And I got the recipe from this guy called Nick at Exercise for Cheat Meals. He's into, bodybuilding and stuff. So I made one of his meal preps. He calls it the dollar meal prep. And that comes straight off his videos if you want to go see. So I'll put a link to his videos for this particular meal prep in the description. And I'll put a link to the base granola recipe I used. I added, cocoa powder to it to make it a chocolate granola. I kind of did that based off of a dare that I got in previous challenges. So I did that. And I also made, of course, for New Year's, the traditional, black-eyed peas and collard greens for luck and what have you in the crock pot. So we definitely have that too. I still have collard greens to use up. And I think what I'm going to do is freeze them and make them later on in the challenge. Like when I make a hardcore meat or something, I'll have the greens as a side and make traditional collard greens the way my mother taught me. So I wanted to show you something before we get started. I'm going to show you a very quick clip of my baby sister's table at Christmas. She cooks the traditional Christmas dinner. Traditional in the sense for us. I mean, and our family my stepfather was Haitian, her husband's Jamaican. I married a Jamaican, but we were divorced. We're like the international, whatever, house of people. But my mother was, a sister from the south side of Chicago. And she spent summers on a farm in Tennessee. And so she learned how to cook Southern food. And that's why we know how to make things like collard greens, black-eyed peas, macaroni and cheese, real Southern foods or what have you. So traditional turkey, ham, and things like that. My sister's the real cook of the family. I mean, she really took after my mother and cooks. She's a natural cook. And so you'll see like this huge table laden with food. And I'm probably showing it to you right now. You'll never see it in my house. You'll see a nice dinner laid out, and I tend to be more on the health kick, high protein, maybe a little bit healthier recipes or whatever. But yeah, so I just wanted to show you kind of where we came from. Her husband made the Caribbean foods you see there, like if there's rice and peas or if there's oxtails, things like that are on the table. It's a mix in my house of like Southern versus like Caribbean traditions, which is kind of interesting in my family. Anyway. Without further ado, I'm going to show you what I cooked for the week, and let's take a look at it. By the way, this episode is sponsored by Coach Candace Duff. That's me. For those of you who don't know, I'm also a novelist and a book coach. And this year is the first year that they didn't have something that I called NaNoWriMo, National Novel Writing Month. They closed it down. It doesn't exist anymore. And there are a lot of people out there who are sort of adrift as a result. If you are trying to write a book, and I'm saying this because this channel initially started as a writing channel, and then I moved it over to health and food and things of that nature. But if you were trying to write a book, or if you thought about writing a book, or if you're struggling with writing a book, or it's taking you 5 years to write your book, and you really want to get it done this year in 2026, go ahead and hop on my schedule so we can talk about your book project, and let's see what we can do to get it done. All right? I'll put the link in the description. It's candiceduff.as.me, and I'll have a link in the description. Hop on my schedule to chat about your book project. All right. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get cooking. And by the way, please like and subscribe to this video so that you can find it again and so that the algorithm pushes it out to other people. I want to share, obviously, this journey with as many people as I can. I love the community that we have here, and I want to grow it, and I want to eventually get monetized. So please like, share, and subscribe to this video. All right, so we're making our traditional black-eyed peas in New Year's. I soaked these bad boys in water, and you can see it soaked up all the water. So I'm putting these in here. These are black-eyed peas, traditional for luck every New Year. So we're doing black-eyed peas, and we're doing some seasonings. All right, so I have here a half tablespoon measure, and we're gonna do a tablespoon of onion powder. This is garlic powder, by the way. A tablespoon of garlic powder, and I keep hitting the camera. Sorry about that. All right, and here comes the onion powder. Let's see if I can do that better. Because we got a lot of peas up in here. And then we're gonna do some of this Weber New Orleans Cajun seasoning because I bought it on sale and never used it. So this is me using up some of what I have in my seasoning cabinet that I've never used. And I've never used it because A, I forgot it was there. I went in there the other day and I was like, oh, I didn't know I had this. Because I thought I was running out of Cajun seasoning at one point, and I had even bought some Tony Saturé. So I'm gonna try this one today. And I think I'm gonna combine it with the Tony's just to make sure this is ball season because we got a lot of beans up in here. So I'm gonna do a little bit of Tony Satura's, maybe just like maybe a half a tablespoon or something, just to make sure that this is well seasoned. Okay. So we're gonna do that. And then we're gonna do some paprika, just to make sure we're getting that paprika in. And because I can see paprika's already in the New Orleans Cajun seasoning, I'm probably just gonna put half there. And then I think that's it. And that's what we're gonna do for now. Okay. Now we're gonna add in, I'm gonna mix that up a little bit. Just to make sure that's in there. This by the way, I was flinging black-eyed peas all over the counter when I emptied that. Okay. So now we're gonna add in our um smoked meat, and these are smoked turkey legs. So I'm gonna add those in there. I was just gonna add one, but you know what? Let's make sure we have enough protein up in there. Okay. And then let me see what the instructions are next. Okay, so I looked at the recipe, which it would have behooved me to do that before this. And I need 4 cloves of garlic. So that was like, I don't know, almost 2 tablespoons of garlic, which is a lot. I like garlic, luckily. And I needed 2 stalks of celery and an onion, so I'm doing that now. I don't know why I didn't do this earlier. Of course, it has to have onion and celery. Well, this is more of a soup type meal. All right, so doing this, which is good because it's cold in Florida. As I'm taping this, or recording this, you can tell when I grew up. As I'm recording this, it is like 45 degrees right here in Florida. And I know in other parts of the country, y'all laughing at us saying that's not even cold, but it's cold to us, okay? And yes, I did turn into a Floridian when I got here. My mother used to tease me because she stayed back in New York, even though I moved here 30 years ago from New York. Because she said, she used to say, she's not with us anymore, that my blood thinned out. And she's right, because, I can't take that cold weather, unless I'm wearing a coat or something. All right, so, so here we have, oh, I got to get the other part of the Trinity real quick. Ooh, that sound you heard was me breaking up these frozen bell peppers. In New Orleans, they cook with green bell peppers mainly, like for the physician, for this type of food. And even though this is not a New Orleans necessarily per se dish, I'm making this sort of like that. And the Trinity is not traditional. It's not the traditional meal form. Here, they cook with bell peppers. So you put onion, you put bell peppers, and we put celery. All right. And I had some frozen green bell peppers in my freezer. So I'm using some freezer food. All right. And now I'm going to use some of this chicken broth I had in the cabinet. And this is my last big chicken broth. I didn't think this out. But luckily, I have like 2 things of chicken broth in my freezer from when I had rotisserie chickens. And I have bones I can make more. So that's good. All right. So that's one. And that sound you hear in the background is me having the kettle on for some hot water because I'm about ready to make the second half of the broth from water and the roasted chicken base. All right, so it's hot. So I'm using better than bouillon. All right, so let me open this if I can because my fingers are sliding. And I think it's supposed to be like a teaspoon per cup or something. So I'm gonna put a tablespoon because we got 4 cups up in here. A tablespoon plus a teaspoon in here. All right, now I'm trying to get it off the spoon, in case you're wondering. Oh my goodness. I hope I'm not the only one that cooks in such a ratchet fashion. That's all I can say. Okay, so I'm mixing up, in case you're wondering, the bouillon and the hot water just to kind of make it a little tiny bit more homogeneous. And I'm going to pour that in there with it and hope I don't have an overflow situation. And I think what I might do is hold off on the rest of this, put it away so that we can get some of this cooked down. Because I already have an overflow situation and the beans aren't even fully cooked yet. So, all right. So, what I'm going to do is stop fooling around and put this top on here. Got onions on my top. Okay. And we're going to place this on low for 8 hours. And then at some point, I'm going to come back in here with the collard greens and stick them in here too. But right now, there's just way too much food. So we'll do this for now. All right. Okay. I may have to cook the collard greens separately. And that wouldn't be the worst. I can actually do that in the Instant Pot. So and I could put the Instant Pot on, on crock pot setting if I need to. All right. So we'll be back when this is more cooked. All right. So it has cooked. I took the time to take the meat off the bone of the turkey and to put in the collard greens. I did that about 2 hours ago. So what I'm going to do, oh, and by the way, I ended up cooking this on fast, on not slow, but on a quick cook or whatever. I ended up cooking it for 6 hours. So you can see the meat pretty much fell off the bone. The collard greens are tender and the beans are fully cooked. And what I'm going to do is actually have me some. I'm over here making a mess. My spooned it up. Okay. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and give myself a taste test for the taste test. And as you can see here, there is plenty of meat. There's the beans and there's the beans and the greens. So we have the black-eyed peas, the turkey from the turkey leg, and the collard greens. So I'm gonna go ahead and give this a taste. Oops. Mm-hmm. This is delicious. This is really good. I didn't really need to adjust the seasonings or anything. Everything in here is extremely well seasoned. So what I'm gonna do is go ahead and get me a spoon and enjoy the heck out of this. And yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go get me a spoon and enjoy the heck out of my bowl of black-eyed peas, collard greens, and smoked turkey soup. All right. Happy New Year, y'all. So for today's lunch, I'm having some of the traditional black-eyed peas that I made for New Year's and some protein cornbread. The protein cornbread came out pretty good. I didn't record myself making it, but what I will do is put the recipe up in the description so that you can see what it looks like. I didn't have applesauce, so I used extra yogurt instead of the applesauce. I think the applesauce would have made it sweeter, and I think I like my cornbread just a tad bit sweeter. So next time I'll do that. All right, so I'm gonna make a recipe that I'm getting from the Nick, the Exercise for Cheat Meals, the channel. I'm getting it from his cookbook. He also does his recipe on the channel. There's a video for it, and it's called the $1 pan pizza. I think he might call it like the pizza meal prep or something on his in terms of the video. Anyway, this recipe calls for items to be put into my food processor. So I'm going to go ahead and make it easy on myself. And the first thing it calls for is 500 grams of all-purpose flour. Now, for those of you who follow me, I don't really use all-purpose flour. I use a special flour because I'm borderline diabetic. So I'm using a flour that has a ratio of that has 7 grams of fiber and 28 grams of carbohydrate. So my fiber to carbohydrate ratio is 4, which is actually pretty amazing. So what I did was I put the food processor on here and I zeroed it out. And I'm now measuring out my 500 grams of flour. So here I have 207. That was 2 half cup measures. So each half cup measure is approximately 100 grams of flour. All right, so that's 318. That's 411. I got to be kind of careful now because I'm getting toward my 500. So I'm going to sprinkle this until I get to it and sneak up on it. That's 487. Oops. 490. Oh, 501. I will live. Okay. The next thing I'm looking for is 100 grams of vital wheat gluten. All right. So I have here some vital wheat gluten. Now, what I'm making here is basically a protein pizza crust. There are different ways you can make protein pizza. And he believes in, because he's a weightlifter, he believes in, oh geez, what am I doing here? I have to get to 601. He believes, because I forgot to zero it out, he believes in high protein meals and of taking regular meals and making them high protein. So, all right. Oop, I got a little tiny bit more. I'm at 603. All right. So that was 103 more grams of vital wheat gluten. Okay. And that's why I'm doing it this way. You can do protein pizza in many ways. You can use yogurt, protein powder. You can do all sorts of things to add protein to your pizza that doesn't involve vital wheat gluten. You can add chicken to it or whatever on top, or ham or some other protein, high protein meat. There's different ways you can make your pizza high protein. This is one way, and it's not for everybody. If you have a gluten intolerance, then I suggest you use one of the other ways. Your pizza won't be as high protein, but it will be if you have chicken or ham to it. But it won't be necessarily. But this is one easy way to do it. All right, I'm doing 10 grams of salt. So if you don't have a gluten intolerance, then you might want to check this out because this is an easy way to do it. 8, 10. Okay. As usual, I got 1 gram over. 11 grams of salt. All right. It also asks for 5 grams of instant yeast. So let's do 5 grams. All right. I'm hoping that that's fine because I didn't use instant yeast. I used active dry yeast. So hopefully that'll work. We shall see. And then 440 grams of water. What I'm gonna do is move us over to the machine itself. When I put this on there, it says I should mix the powders first, and then I should add the water slowly. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Okay, so I'm gonna put this on for 30 seconds, real quick. Oh, I guess it would behoove me to plug it in. All right. Okay. Yeah, I'm going with the water. And I'm doing this over a 30-second interval. Okay. Wow. It smells like Burning Man up in here. Well, at least it smells like something is burning. So what I did was I poured in 440 grams of water over a 30-second interval, 30 to 60-second interval. And then I'm allowing it to run, or I allowed it to run for another 30 seconds. Let me just make sure I got all 30 seconds. Since that is definitely a dough, I'm going to say I did. All right, so I'm going to move this back to the working area, and then we're going to go ahead and divide this up. Okay, so we're supposed to have 5 high-sided containers, and I tend to use my little deli containers for this. Actually, these are the large deli containers. And I really should buy some small ones. We're supposed to lightly spray the inside with oil, I guess to keep it from sticking. And then we're supposed to turn the dough out onto, just turn it out. I guess we're supposed to make sure the dough is thoroughly mixed. It's interesting because the dough is definitely mixed. Okay, now I'm supposed to cut it into even pieces. So they should be anywhere between 205 and 210, or 200 and 210 grams each. Okay, so I have here a dough scraper, and let's see what we can do. That's 167, 275. Okay, it's too many. Too much. This is 224. All right, so this is 202. All right. So I'm supposed to divide these evenly. That's a 213. All right, so this is 206. That is too much. It's 284. Ooh, 254, 241. Seriously? 234, 229. Let me tell you, having a food scale is very convenient, especially for jobs like this. It's really hard to eye. This is 209. I will live. It's really hard to eye, like how much things are, like to say you're cutting it evenly or not. I always get it wrong. All right. 225 versus 209. Okay. Which means I can probably put a little tiny bit of dough on other things. 219. All right. I say this is even enough, mainly because I'm out of patience. And it's all going to my belly, so whatever. So then we're supposed to flatten it out and then pinch it and raise it on all sides, and then kind of like round it out to make it into a ball, and then plop it into a container. So I'm going to continue to do that, flatten it out, pinch it on all sides, round it out with my hands, and plop it into a container. So as I was saying before, which probably I didn't do it, I mean, coherently, there are different ways to make protein pizza. This dough right here, along with some cheese and a few pepperonis, could be as much as like 50 grams of protein. And it's an easy way to get protein into your system. Is it the healthiest way? Probably not, because the protein is based off of vital wheat gluten. But I only put a quarter of the dough, like a quarter of the flour, as vital wheat gluten. So, 100 grams, it's not going to kill anybody. And it's an easy way. Now, you can actually freeze these. I could actually like separate them with parchment paper, freeze them, defrost them, put them back into a container, let them rise, and then use it later. So this is a dough that could be made in advance. You can always have pizza dough in your freezer, which is useful. Most dough you can do that with. And like I said, there are other ways to make protein dough. You can make it with unsweetened protein powder. There are recipes for that. You can make it with just yogurt or cottage cheese. There are recipes for that. Now, if you make a dough with yogurt or cottage cheese, it's a quick dough that you can use. It's a no-knead dough, and the dough that does need to rise. But you only get 12 grams of protein from the dough, and you're going to have to add additional protein from other stuff, which is fine because you can use anything from uncured ham, which I sometimes do, the ham from Costco that's uncured, or chicken, or turkey pepperoni, which has more protein and less fat than regular pepperoni. I like the uncured pepperoni from Applegate. You can do that. You can do another thing I like, which is a version of ham, which is prosciutto. You can add that along with your cheese. And so there's different ways to add protein to make it a protein-filled pizza. And since we only need about 30 grams of protein per meal, I mean, generally, and then supplement that with high protein snacks and other things, I think or a shake or something, I think, the other ways are perfectly fine. I'm doing this because I am tired of not having dough ready. I have the vital wheat gluten. I'm not allergic to it. And it's okay for me, right? It's a way for me to get lots of protein into a meal without having to worry about it. So this is just one way. And I do it all kinds of ways. A lot of times I make the pizza with yogurt or cottage cheese because I happen to have that handy. or because I might not be in the mood to have vital wheat gluten in my system. If you're gonna have this pizza, I do suggest that you drink lots of water to, flush that vital wheat gluten out of your system, and make sure that the rest of your meals are healthy as I don't know what, right? Make sure you're getting your veggies, make sure you're getting your nutrients in other ways. So, all right. I'm now gonna put these in the refrigerator. Now, if I was gonna have pizza today or this afternoon or whatever, I might leave one of them out to rise. But because I have time, at least, I don't know, 6 hours before my next meal, because it's before 11 a.m. in the morning, I'm gonna put these in the refrigerator and allow them to rise. Okay, I'm gonna make some of my famous granola. I don't know how famous it is, but I love it. It is protein granola. And I'm making a double batch because I like to have this as a snack. It satisfies my sweet tooth, any craving for chocolate, and it does it in a healthy way. So I like to make this up. It also helps me boost my protein goal. So help me achieve them because every serving gives me a hefty dose of protein. So that was 4 cups of organic rolled oats that I put here in this bowl. And I'm closing up my oats in case you're wondering what all this noise is. Oh, because I keep them in the container. They're pretty airtight, but I also like to make sure they're closed. All right. So here we have the rolled oats. And then we also need protein powder. Now, I use a plant-based protein powder. As you can see here, it's Optimum. And I use vanilla. And vanilla is one of my favorite flavors. That you hear in the background is the oven coming up to temperature. So the recipe normally calls for 2 cups of rolled oats. I doubled it, so I put in 4. It also calls for, in a regular serving, 1/2 cup of protein powder. So I'm going to get a 1/2 cup measure. And I'm going to need a full cup of protein powder. But it's easier to measure out in a 1/2 cup fashion. So I'll do that. I don't make a ton of smoothies. Sometimes I prefer to do it like this or to do like a protein yogurt instead. To reach my protein goals, I don't always want a smoothie. To me, smoothies are great. They're great for you to eat fruit and stuff, but they tend to be cold. If I want something cold, I want it to be refreshing, like milk and cereal, something like that. You get to crunch, your granola, which is kind of cool, and you get to infuse it with different things like nuts and raisins and stuff like that. So to me, it's a better like taste sensation. It just satisfies me in a different way. All right, so I got the cup of protein powder in there, and now I'm gonna add. That was really easy. So, so I'm gonna mix that up really well using my Danish dough whisk. Let me tell you, Becky from Acres Homestead turned me on to this Danish dough whisk when I first learned to use it, and I have not gone back. It's so easy to use. I mean, a regular whisk things get caught up in it or whatever, and it's hard for like, you know, third thing. I don't have that problem with the Danish dough whisk. Okay. So we served that out. Now we have to add in some of the wet ingredients, which include a 1/4 cup of maple syrup. But because I doubled this, I need a 1/2 cup of maple syrup. I normally use honey because you could do either or. But today I'm going to change it up and do maple syrup because I think I've used up a good amount of the honey I've had over the past few months, which is good. And I still have this whole big jar of maple syrup. So I figured I'd get that a try. Okay. And I also need a third a cup of peanut butter. I just bought this peanut butter. It is, I don't even know, Wellesley. I think I got it from Wellesley Farms Peanut Butter. I got it from BJ's. And it's great because it's organic or whatever, and it only has like one ingredient, which is like peanuts. And which, thank goodness, that's the only ingredient. But anyway, but it's really oily. I mean, I know natural peanut butter is supposed to be oily. This is like excessively oily. It's very annoying. I don't know if you can see that. So I'm trying to mix it up really well. It's kind of soupy, but in some ways it's good because my last peanut butter was so not soupy. I would have a hard time like getting it in, the granola. So I guess we can complain either way, right? But when I want to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, which I have no business making, but when I want to do that, it's not like stiff enough for me, which means I'm probably going to end up getting some Costco peanut butter as I can mix it or something. Just goes to show you can never make people happy. All right. So because I only need 1/3 a cup of peanut butter, I'm going to do 2/3 a cup because remember, I have doubled the recipe. So this is 1/3 and this is 2/3. And I already messed up because what I should have done to make sure it's homogenous is somebody challenged me during a last challenge last year, maybe it was the first one, to make chocolate granola. And I have never gone back. I made chocolate granola that one time and I've never gone back. And I normally put the chocolate, the cocoa powder or whatever I'm using in when it's in a dry state and mix it in really well and then put the wet ingredients in. I didn't do that this time. So I'm gonna put it in now and hope that it does the same good job of dispersing evenly. So I'm gonna put in, I don't know, this is like a tablespoon and a half of the cocoa powder, and I'm gonna be liberal with it. Like I it might be 2 tablespoons considering what I just did. How I scooped it. And let's see how this turns out. Who knows? Maybe it'll work out even better. All right, here's what I know. I've gotten peanut butter on the outside of my jar. All right, so now I'm gonna go ahead and mix this well. You see how well this whisk works? I mean, with a regular whisk, this would be like an utter mess. So it's really getting in there. And what I'm doing is I'm kind of slashing at it with the bottom of the whisk, and it's working. Like it's mixing like nobody's business, and it smells so good. All right, look at that. It's mixing the wet and the dry ingredients beautifully. And maybe this was a better way to put the chocolate in. It seems to be pretty homogenous. Mm. All I know is, wow. I think between the maple syrup, which I normally don't use, and me waiting to put the chocolate in until I put in the wet ingredients, this might be the best yet. Mm. All I know is this smells like heaven. And it looks pretty well distributed. I mean, what you don't want is like it to be really dry on the bottom. Yeah, see, it's so dry on the bottom. Because I've had that where it looks perfect on the top. And then when I put it onto the baking sheet, I see it's a little dry at the bottom. Okay. It's like you need to work out just to cook. All right. So I'm going to eventually spread this out into a baking sheet, stick it in the oven at 350 for 13 to 15 minutes, shaking it halfway. And then when it comes out, I'll add the mix in and I'll bring you back when it's time for the mix ins. Okay. I had to clean up the area a little bit. It was really, my OCD was bothering me. I don't know why I insist upon talking about OCD on YouTube, but hey. All right, so this is the granola, and you want to keep some chunks basically, but you want to spread it out pretty evenly. And I tend to go over the 13 minutes because the 13 to 15 minutes, because I like my granola crunchy and I like it to clump up. So, all right, so I'm going to go ahead. I had already sprayed the bottom of this. I'm going to go ahead and put this in the. Actually, I don't know if I sprayed the bottom of this. We'll find out. But I'll go ahead and put this in the oven. Okay. All right. So now we're back and we have some lovely granola. Oops. I'm trying not to throw it everywhere. Stays here. And I cooked it on a cookie sheet, um, on top of some parchment paper, which I didn't spray, by the way, and it didn't stick. Thank God. I'm pretty lucky for that. Okay. So I'm kind of sad because you're allowed like a cup of mix-ins for each batch of granola that you make, and I'm running low on mix-ins, and because this is a pantry challenge, and my mix-ins are not fresh, I'm not going to be able to buy them, which is really like a constraint. So I typically use pepitas, otherwise known as pumpkin seeds, as part of my mix-ins. These are really good for you. They have some wonderful nutrients. That's half a cup. And because this is a double batch, I'm going to put 2 cups of stuff in here. So these have 8 grams of protein per 180 calories in general and a quarter cup is a serving. So I just put 16 grams of protein in here in addition to what I already have with the protein powder. And they have iron, 10% of your daily dose, 40% of your magnesium, 30% of your phosphorus, 20% of your zinc, 35% of your copper, and 60% of your manganese in each serving. Can you imagine? And each serving, I mean, of these. I mean, you don't get a full serving in every thing, but you get some good stuff in there. All right. I don't normally use sunflower seeds, but I have them. So in order to stretch this out and make sure I can make another batch of granola at some point during this challenge, I'm going to use these because I haven't used them and I have them. So these are sunflower seed kernels. Unfortunately, these are roasted and salted, but because everything else is sweet, I'm not going to worry about it. So I put a half a cup of those in there. And then my favorite thing are these slivered almonds. And I typically just use like almonds and pepitas, and I don't normally use like the sunflower kernels, but we're doing it today. So I'm going to use these slivered almonds, and that means I'll be able to make another batch because I have more almonds left here. And I have a little bit more left here. These are sliced almonds. I used these last time. So basically, I have some portions here that I can use. Between these two, I can definitely make another batch. And then one of my favorite things, because I love raisins. So I'm going to use a half a cup of the raisins. But because I'm using 4 half cups, that's going to be into my 2 cups of mix-ins. Right. And that leaves me some raisins for another batch. I'll be able to make another batch at some point. I'll just have to take this batch, but I have some sense and not gobble it down like a maniac in 2 days. Not 2 days, but in a week. All right. So now what I like to do is to mix this up. And I like to start it with something like a knife or something to kind of just get down in there and have these mix-ins kind of fall to the bottom. And this does a pretty good job. I'm using a butter knife, in case you're wondering. And I'm just going around the side. What you hear in the background is I raised the oven to 400 to cook the potatoes, a little faster. They're partially cooked, but they need to finish cooking the breakfast potatoes that I had put in the oven. All right. This is really well mixed. See that? And now, and it's nice and dry too. So this is like cereal. I mean, and each serving of this granola, by the way, this makes 8 servings. So technically there are 16 servings in here. They're 175 calories each, and they have 22 grams of protein each. So I think what I end up doing is eating several servings at a time. I think what I'm going to do is act like I have some sense and just use like a quarter cup or whatever. Let me see what the serving is. Not more than half a cup in each serving or whatever, which might be double. And because I tend to get a little happy and just like make huge servings of cereal, which is probably not good for my waistline. So I think I'm going to be measuring this as if I had a little bit of sense next time. And in case you're wondering what I'm doing, I'm putting them in these little containers. So I'm using a half cup measure, and trying not to get it all over the counter. If I could tell you how this smells, it smells like peanut butter, like granola. I mean, so good. And you could keep these in your cabinet, on top of your counter, on your shelf, anywhere you want to. But this is your chocolate granola. It smells like chocolate too. That's chocolate distributed really well. You can tell from the color of the granola that there's chocolate in every bite. And I could have made it even more chocolatey by using more cocoa. Basically, I used 100% cocoa, like 2 tablespoons. And you can see I have a good, making a mess, a good amount of granola. And what I typically do is like eat a portion before. So I'm going to have me a portion from what's left in here and maybe a little bit from the jars since I'm making a mess. And that'll be it. All right. Make you some granola. You will not regret it. All right. It dawned on me that I'm not telling you how to eat these things. I mean, or giving you suggestions. You don't even have to make chocolate granola. You can make vanilla maple granola. You can make any flavor granola you want. And you can have it with some milk, like a regular milk if you have it. Or in my case, I'm drinking Ripple, which is plant-based milk. I have 2 of these in the refrigerator. And these are 8 grams of protein for 70 calories, which is like perfect. So this is plant-based milk that has protein in it, 8 grams of protein for 70 calories. So if I put this 8 grams of protein in here with this 22-gram serving of granola, and actually it's a little bit more than 22 grams of protein in this granola because I think I took a little bit more than a serving, then this is 30 grams of protein. And if this is my snack, right? That's assuming I use a whole cup of milk, and I'm not going to use a whole cup of milk. So I would say I use like half a cup of milk. Is this how I like mine? So maybe 4, grams of protein from the milk, and then 22 plus whatever extra I put in here for my granola. And I'm a happy child. This snack is satisfying. It's satisfying my sweet tooth. It's satisfying my hunger in the middle of the afternoon. It's letting me crunch. It's alleviating stress. And you can eat granola all types of ways, right? Some people like them on top of their yogurt. Here's an Oikos, for example. This is a 000 vanilla flavor, 15 grams of protein. There's higher Greek yogurts or whatever you can even use. And in terms of protein, and you can put granola on your yogurt. You can do whatever you want, right? You can throw it on some ice cream. You could just crunch it, by itself. So there are different ways that you can have this snack to boost your protein and to make yourself happy during the challenge, having a nice tasty snack. So I just wanted to give you those ideas and play around with flavors. You might like raspberry granola. I don't know, right? We're not all the same, right? We all like different things. All right. And there you have it. So the next video is going to be coming out on Sunday morning, and you'll get to see more things that I cooked this week, which will be interesting, and to see how I'm doing as we get through this next week in the challenge. All right. See you then. See you in the next video. Don't forget, please like, share, and subscribe. Take care.